I always knew I had a book in me, and it was really nice to, when I finished my flying in May last year, I did what everyone does. I went to Facebook and said, should I write a book? And my Facebook friends said yes. So so I sat down and wrote a book. And that in itself is quite the accomplishment. But it was also a chance to revisit the good and bad of the job, the 25 years on the helicopter at Life Flight, and also look back to the earlier years, the things that really helped shape my career, as it were.
And how many incidents would you cover in that career?
It's pretty close on 4,000. We didn't have a lot of records from the first few years, but it's somewhere between 3,800 and 4,000. A mix, mainly helicopter, but a few on the fixed wing, probably a couple hundred on the fixed wing. But a lot of lives touched through a lot of teamwork. Yeah, and I got to deal with some things that I probably didn't deal with over the years that maybe it was time to deal with.
Right, and what do you mean by that? What sort of things?
There are a lot of little compartments in my head that, you would go and see something pretty tragic and you just stuff it in the little compartment. And I had to take some of those out, and that was hard at times, a few tears I didn't expect. I discovered, talking with a police psychiatrist after a mandatory debrief, that chick flicks were one of my big releases. I would go in tissue commercials or chick flicks, I would cry a lot, and which was always something to warn a first date about. But my friends and family, my friends are my family here in New Zealand, and just after a tough day, just hanging out with them, maybe a glass of wine and a meal, but just knowing I was with people that I loved and that cared about me made a big difference.
Is there any sort of single thing what sticks in your mind above anything else?
Probably the one that I'll always remember as a good one was Chris Webb, who was on a yacht between Wellington and Akaroa, and I write a chapter about this one, Terminator. He was on the yacht, 9 people, they called a mayday, and we were getting them off the yacht, and he fell back into huge seas out of the harness, and we lost sight of him, and re-finding him and then going down for the rescue, being put into these huge seas. Him being alive is one of the nicest things. We're good mates now and catch up and have beers or coffee. So that would be a highlight. And on September 11th, 2001, which when I went to bed that night, it was the best day ever. We had picked up and saved my best friend's dad, and then a few hours later it became the worst day ever. But in September 11th in the States. But taking part in helping save a family member was really special. And but there are a lot more good than not so good results over the years. But on the other side, probably the worst would be Anzac Day, where the helicopter crashed in 2010 up near Pukerua Bay. Being on the helicopter and finding the wreckage, and the 3 guys losing their lives was tragic. And even Kriegs, the survivor, we've become good mates, but that was a difficult day, and I've always said on any other day it could have been reversed. Our helicopter crashed and the Air Force winching us out. And so that one would probably be amongst the toughest I've done. I think people recognize that rescue helicopters and ambulance officers and everyone in the emergency services do a really tough job, but a good job. I'm now a trustee of the Neonatal Trust, which helps look after families with babies and neonates. And so there are a lot of good charities. There are thousands of them out there. And if people just take a bit of time and think about what they might want to support, that would be great. And and I hope they find it entertaining and a bit just behind the scenes, get to see a bit of what the thinking is. And at least for me, it's me telling my experience of a team job. And I think if we were all interviewed after a job, we might have a slightly different experience of it. But it's an insight into something that most people would probably not think about much.